Hello, everyone. Welcome to our show. We have a very special episode for you. Our guest, as you see, is the fabulous Kate Linder. Kate is best known for playing Esther Valentine for the past 40 years on The Young and the Restless. She remains a key member of the top-rated daytime drama cast. On April 10th, 2008, she received her star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. She has many featured films, including Gary Marshall's Mother's Day, Hysteria, Echo Boomers. Along with her work, Kate is a true humanitarian. She is a celebrity spokesperson for ALS. She spends most holidays serving food to Los Angeles mission. Kate has made many USO tours with the late Johnny Grant and spent Thanksgivings visiting troops. She has many accolades. She's just an amazing person, and I am one of her biggest fans. And I would like to start this all off with 5 words. Mrs. Chancellor, dinner is served. Hi, Kate. Welcome.
Hi, Tim. That was so sweet. That's so nice of you. I'm honored to be here. Really.
The honor's mine that you agreed to do this with us. Like I said, I'm a huge fan. I have been for many, many years of the show and years. I actually do remember your first time on Young and the Restless,
Yeah,
watching it with
that was my line. Yeah.
working with my grandmother or watching it with my grandmother. Uh, what was it like for you growing up? What were you like? I mean, were you into drama in school? Were you
Oh, well, I started tap dancing when I was 3, and I'm still tap dancing. So it's a long time. Um, I I did, my parents were very they gave me all the lessons, the dance lessons. I took piano lessons. Um, and they started me in dance. This is interesting because I think they would, when something was on TV, I would be always dancing around by the TV. So they thought, well, I think she needs to learn how to dance. So they've always been extremely supportive. And so this is always what I wanted to do, wanted to be an actress. No one in my family was in the business, so it was always like just my parents, though they were very supportive, they didn't have a clue, what to do. I mean, things were very different then. And but fortunately, I just kept pursuing it, and here I am. And
Well, I think most people don't realize you've actually got a degree in theater arts from San Francisco State University,
right, I
which
do.
is
That's
amazing.
true. Yeah. So
Did Was there someone that inspired you to be an actress?
um I just loved it. I loved going to my parents took me to the theater and movies and different shows, and I just loved watching it and knowing that I could be a totally different person, I'm still me, but I'm, playing a different person. And I don't know, but that's something I always, little girls wanted to be whatever they wanted to be, mothers, nurses, teachers, flight attendants. I don't know. I just wanted to be an actress. And I knew that from a very young age that I, I didn't have to think about, well, what do I want to be when I grow up? I knew that that's what I wanted to be. And I was just, so that's what I always say, you can never give up. And you just keep pushing and going for your dreams.
Well,
And
you've had such an amazing career. Um, you've been in over 2,350 episodes of Young and the Restless alone. Was Y&R your first job?
no, it was not my first job, but it was my first long-term job because, I was only hired for 1 day. And here we are, 40 years and counting is what I have to say.
And
And
definitely.
then our show's coming up on their 50th anniversary. So 50 years, Young and the Restless, and we're the number one show. And so I'm so honored to be part of it. But I had done other things, but this was definitely my first long-term job.
So I've got to ask, what is it like living in Genoa City? And I think I said that correctly.
Genoa City. It was good.
Genoa.
Genoa City. Um, well, I don't know. It's like, what's it like living in this living room that you see right here?
Yes, the
I don't
set's
know.
behind you.
It's at the Chancellor House. Um, I'm just happy to be part of the show and wherever it is, whether it's Genoa City or LA, wherever they go, I'm happy to be part of it.
Well, your job is not easy. Anybody, any actors have such a difficult job because you have to know your lines, your marks, who you're looking at, and make sure your body is doing what it's supposed to be doing as you're talking. How do you do all of that?
Well, I mean, it's a lot different now because we used to be able to do more than one take. Now they try to do the show in one take. It's very fast. A primetime show will take a week to shoot an hour, and we shoot it in one day. So, and way back when we used to have cue cards, we don't have those anymore. I never really used them anyway because uh, I like, looking at the other actor and getting a response and, you know, uh, from them. So before, when you were acting with people that really used the cards, they weren't, it was difficult. But anyway, so they tried to do one take, and I don't want it to be because of me that they're going to have to take it over. Let's put it that way. But learning your lines is just like anything else. I mean, it's a muscle, and you have to keep exercising it, your brain. And I just keep going over my lines over and over and over. How I started in the business was in theater. So I still will do that once in a while. If there's a play and a really good part, I will do that. So it's fabulous.
So, do you have a particular favorite storyline that you've done?
Well, I mean, of course, there were so many of them, and they're so great. But of course, but I loved being kidnapped with Mrs. Chancellor. That was
That was
we were
wonderful.
kidnapped twice. So
I
uh,
believe she helped deliver your baby too, didn't she? When
yes,
y'all were,
you have a really good memory,
thank
Tim.
you.
You are great. Yes, she did. She helped me deliver little, well, her real name is Kate, little Kate, even though
Yes,
she was embarrassed by me being the maid as her mother.
right.
So she changed her name to Chloe. But yes, it gave birth in the middle of a storm on the stairs and in my maid's outfit with my maid's hat
Of
on. And
course.
of course, you cannot have that. So, yeah, it was great, Jeannie. So of course I loved that. I loved the different storylines with uh, with Jill, different things with her, uh, different things of with Chloe, as I said, everyone. And also, there's something really good. Don't miss the show on October 4th. I'm going to give you a hint and give all your viewers, do not miss that show, whatever you
October
do.
4th. You heard it here first, everybody.
October 4th.
Well, poor Esther, she just does not have much luck in love, does
I
she?
know, terrible. She really
Uh,
messed that up.
she's been married twice. One of them was invalidated. One of them murdered Catherine's husband. That's just
Yeah, that was
where
bad.
where is there something that you would like to see Esther go to some story?
Well, I mean, it would. I mean, they had, I had a little taste of like a dating thing that happened,
Yes.
online thing. Um, so I don't know if they will pursue that or not, but I really enjoyed doing that. And Sam McMurray, working with him, he's a great actor. He's done lots of other things. So
Well,
I enjoyed doing that. But what people don't realize is, that you have to just let the show know what you want to see. They really listen to that. I know there's a comment line on CBS.com, and you just go on there and say, what you want to see. And
I didn't know
it,
that.
yeah, if they get enough of it, um, they'll do something. It's like way back when everyone used to ask me, "Where's your daughter? Where's your daughter?" And people started letting them know they wanted my daughter, and before you knew it, after some time, then there was Chloe, whose real name is Kate, but it's
Yes,
Chloe.
and Chloe is definitely not a detective because during your first online date at the
Yeah,
park, I saw her sneaking around trying to spy on you.
I know. Well, that's because she loves me, and she just
Yes.
wanted to make sure I was okay. That that was
Well,
that was when you ask about storyline. I loved playing that. That was really neat. I loved also playing stuff where I answered an ad in a singles magazine and loved that
yes.
I was the lady of the house and got to wear all the great clothes. And then Mr. and Mrs. Sterling, because it was Rex Sterling and Mrs. C was Mrs. S then. Uh,
Yes.
they dressed up as the maid and the butler. That was one of my favorite things.
Speaking of Mrs. S and Mrs. C, you're kind of protective of that name, aren't you? Esther
I'm
is, rather.
I'm very protective. I started doing that. It's the first one really to call her Mrs. C. And so I don't like anybody, just anybody calling her
I
that.
don't blame you. And that's kind of taken your phrase line, yeah,
Yeah,
away
yeah.
from you. I think the Masquerade Ball has to be mentioned. It's one of my
Oh, I
favorites.
love that. I
I
love
loved seeing you with the giant feather duster doing your stage performance. That was phenomenal. You did
it
so
was.
good on that.
Oh, thanks, Tim. I love doing that. And actually, there's the Hollywood Museum here just honored me because of my 40th, and they have an exhibit, and it's still there. It has my first uniform and my very first two scripts, so they're 40 years old. And
Wow.
that's very,
You do have your own version of the Esther's costume for yourself, don't you?
well, no, that was the studios. I mean, uh, it, but Esther has a few of them hanging around. But that
You don't
was
see her in it now,
that was the first one. But she's not wearing it anymore, which is
which
okay.
I'm glad. I love seeing you in all the beautiful dresses that you wear on the show. I mean, it's just, you're a beautiful person anyway.
Oh, I love you, Tim. You're such a good guy. Thank you.
Thank you.
That means
You've
so
had
much. Thank you.
many famous musicians appear on the show, like Katy Perry, Lionel Richie, Smokey Robinson, Jewel, Enrique Iglesias. What was that like? Did you get to meet them and interact?
Um, because sometimes they're there, but you don't get to see them because we're not always in the same scene.
Right.
So, unfortunately, uh, did not get to. I've met them off the stage, or but not on the show. Met a lot of them, but not on the show.
I do want to mention you do have a second job you've had longer than you've been on
Yeah,
Young and the Restless.
yeah. Flight attendant for United Airlines, and I still am. I basically will fly during the weekends and then because do the show during the week, or sometimes I'll be flying during the week if I have to trade stuff around. And it was interesting. I found out actually that I was getting a star on the Walk of Fame when I was on the airplane. So,
Oh wow.
uh,
I
uh,
can't imagine getting on a flight and having Kate Linder offer you a drink or something or where you're seated. I would have to get up and say, no, 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 let me. You yes.
well, I've had so many crazy stories happen, and when people realize, a lot of people know, but then there's a lot of people that don't, and they'll. This couple got on the plane, and the husband said to me, um, "I'll pay you 50. Are you my? Oh, he said my wife thinks that you're Esther on Young and the Restless," and I said, "Yeah." He said, "Well, I'll pay you $50 if you say it's not you." And I said, "What? I'm not going to do that. You're only going to pay me 50, so I'm telling."
For real.
Oh
Now you
yeah.
got to pay me 50 not to tell her.
Oh, that's what I should have done. Yeah. Yeah.
Have you ran into anybody that you knew accidentally while you were working on the flight?
I've had, different people. Actually, Jackie Zeman, who's on General Hospital, it's
Yes,
like
she's great.
years and years ago. We're friends, and there's been, so many people and that I've gotten to see, and then other people like be in the front and say, "Oh, they've asked me for an autograph." I'm going, "What?" "Oh, well, yeah, because my mom is a big fan of yours." And I go, "Wow, okay." Uh, but
Sure, that's just what they said. It was really for them.
yeah, so.
You do so much for different charities. How do you find the time? I mean, working two jobs, full-time jobs at that.
Well, I think it's like anything, they always say if you want something done, you just ask the busiest person you know. And um and then I think just gets done. I just know I like doing what I'm doing. I like working, and I love giving back. And so I just fit it all in.
What do you like to do when you're not working or volunteering during what little free time you might have?
Well, I mean, I love going to the theater and films and things like that. So
Reading
out
any
to
good books?
I that's one thing I used to read all the time, and that uh unfortunately I haven't been able to read books lately. That's one thing that's sort of fallen by the wayside, that I keep going, "Oh, I need to read that." But I might read the California driver's license handbook if I have to take my driving test, but that's
Right.
not one of my favorite things to read.
Well, doing some of my research on you before the show, which I already knew most of it, but a question. Do you have any siblings? I've never seen or
I
heard that
do. I have
question
a
asked.
I have a brother. He lives in Dallas. Yeah, so
That's
I
not,
do.
that's good.
Yeah.
Because like I said, I found a
Yeah.
site that told me your height, weight, everything
Oh, great.
else.
Well, I don't like
but,
that.
well,
Especially the weight part. Well, no.
you'll be glad to know that it said on all of that, it said no info, no info, no info.
Oh, that's good. Oh, that's really good. Okay.
I think basically they just had your name and your career on it.
Okay, well, I like that. Yeah.
Well, speaking of careers, on the show, Esther she is an estate manager, former barista, former maid, trained alcohol abuse counselor,
Yes.
Catherine's former maid, and you started theater production named Streetcar Named Desire.
Right. And bowling. You left
And
out the
bowling,
bowling part.
yes. The bowling, I don't know how I could forget that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that I rewatched that one recently. The scene of you and everybody when Mrs. Chancellor needed to go to rehab from her
Oh,
last
yeah.
alcohol
Yeah.
situation.
Yeah.
That was such an emotional scene. Uh,
Yeah.
does that just come natural in the scene? Are you just caught up in the scene, or do you have to actually think of something to make
Well,
you
I
upset
think
like
you
that?
just have to, well, for me, I think you just really have to believe it. It has to be real. It has to be believable. I mean, like, okay, let's say you're watching a film, someone's crying their eyes out, and you go, why isn't that affecting me? Why doesn't that make me sad? Or why? Because, because if the person's really, really in it and feeling it, and then it will affect you. Much like real life.
Right.
So
Yes. Sometimes real life isn't there.
yeah, lots of times it isn't fair. And I always I remember as a kid growing up, I would say to my parents, "Well, that's not fair." And they said, "Well, who said, who told you it was going to be fair? Who said that
Right.
life was fair?" You know, kind of
Your
thing.
parents sound phenomenal. I know
Oh yeah.
you still got
My,
your mom around,
my
which is
mom is
amazing.
amazing. Yeah, she's 97. My dad unfortunately passed away. Really miss him. But my mom, thank goodness, she's great. She's really fabulous.
She seems like she could be a little spitfire.
Well, she was on the show. She could be Spitfire. I don't know if you remember, there was this part where actually Tracy Bregman's mother, Suzanne, and my mother they put them in these scenes with Dina.
I didn't realize that was her. I do
Yeah.
remember that scene.
Yeah,
Wow,
the
that's
redhead.
incredible.
That's my mom.
Yeah.
I have to go back.
Wow.
Yeah, and so that was so neat. I was so happy that they did that.
That is very neat. I
She
know.
she watched the show from day one. In fact, so when I came on the show, she was telling me, "Oh no, this is there's an that." She knows the show. She doesn't miss it. She watched it every single day, and so
She had
did
to
my
get you caught
dad.
up on the history
Yeah,
of the show,
yeah,
which is an incredible show. Like you said, it's coming up on 50 years. That's
yeah.
amazing. I believe it's probably the longest running one on TV right now, isn't it?
Um, I don't know. I think General Hospital might be longer, but it but it's the number one show, and
Oh, yes.
that's
It's been number
so
one for quite some time, too,
yeah,
which is
definitely.
great. Because y'all have done, that show has done so much with the bringing in so many characters, different lifestyles, different cultures, everything. And it's incredible how that meshes so well. But because,
Yeah.
for me, I kind of guilt, guilty watching you all, the older people, Tracy Berman, Peter Berman, Tracy, all of them, instead of the young ones. But the younger ones are attracting so many new generations, which is
Yeah.
incredible.
Yeah, that's good. Well, it's good for everyone, And there is so much history, and I love that's why I believe our show's number one because among other reasons, but we have incredible writers, and the stories they deal with real life situations, such as Esther being a single mother and having her daughter not want to have anything to do with her, and things that happen in real life. And
Yeah, the cochlear implant with Devon years ago,
right,
that was a big thing in the news at that
a-
time.
absolutely. So I love that, and also that we don't really have a revolving door. So meaning when you tune in and you see someone you've seen for a long time, you expect to see them, you're going to tune in and you're going to see them, such
Right.
as Esther, hopefully.
The flashbacks are always my favorites.
Oh,
It
yeah.
takes me back, but that's
Did you
because I remember.
see the show when they did my 40th?
Yes,
You
that
can
was
still see
awesome.
it. That aired on, I think it was May 20th. You can still go back and see it. I couldn't believe it. I loved that show. I was shocked what they did, and it was so nice that they did that.
Well, Esther recently had a scene with Jill at the cemetery. Esther was visiting her grandchild that she had lost, and
Yeah,
Jill was just being bitter, and you were able to take that bitterness, and it ended up in an embrace with you all, which was
yeah, yeah.
amazing. I love the banter between you two. That
Oh, I love
yeah,
doing scenes with Jess. Yeah.
she's incredible. Does she come
I
up with
gotta
those
keep
things on her
watching.
own?
There's stuff coming up. Yeah, she's great. I just actually talked to her today too. Yeah, she's
I
really
believe
great.
she called you a chihuahua once, didn't
Oh,
she?
she calls me. She loves calling me names, or she call me not the sharpest knife in the drawer, things like that.
And
So.
little does she know, you're probably the smartest one who knows everything going on in the show.
See, Tim, you're so smart. You know, Esther knows what's going on.
If
Yeah.
I was on the show and wanted to know something, I'm going to Esther first. She
Yeah.
knows
Yeah.
because Victor, the ones that are in the higher authority, they don't care. They don't pay attention. Esther pays attention to everything.
Yeah. Definitely.
She
Def
does, and I feel like Kate Linder does as well.
Ah, Tim, you're great. Like
No,
great.
you're the great one. I do. I don't know. I've never done this. Do have to say, my brother is a huge fan. He did kind of help me come up with some of the questions here. My brother Justin, he's a huge fan. Also, he's been watching as long as I have as well.
Oh, fabulous.
Actually, most of my family does.
That's great. That's really good. There's great stuff coming, so you gotta just keep watching. Yeah.
Oh yes, he and I get on the phone. We talk about it all the time.
That's good. That's really good.
So, do you have anything? I know you've got. I saw a movie preview that you have coming up. I believe it was called Um,
Yeah, it's called Shriver. With
Shriver.
Yeah, Kate Hudson and Michael Shannon and Don Johnson and so hopefully that will be out soon, maybe at the first of the year. It's kind of interesting because I had shot most of it, it was right before COVID, and then I had one day left to shoot on it, and I was in the bank, and I ran into the some of the crew in the bank, and they said, "Hey, we're going for coffee tomorrow. What do you want?" I said, "Really?" Oh yeah. So I gave them my order, and I never saw them again because that night, COVID, everything shut down.
Right.
And so we finally did, thank goodness, get to finish the film. Um, and so I'm excited to see that, and hopefully it will be out not
There's
too.
one that's just now in post production. I caught a sneak peek of. I think it was Hysteria. It could have been Echo Boomers, but you play the mother of a daughter who's kind of out of control. But from what I saw, you had to be channeling Mrs. Chancellor in that because she was just. I mean, you were phenomenal in the part that I saw. I mean, it's complete opposite of Esther, complete opposite,
Oh,
which was
thank
just a
you.
totally different side to see you, which is great. I love seeing that part for you.
Thanks. Yeah, I love doing. I do a lot of independent films, and I love doing other things, and when I can fit it in, and the show is so gracious to let me do that. At times we can work it out. So I love doing other things. Yeah.
Yeah, I just got introduced to Indiegogo. I wasn't familiar
Oh,
with that
uh-huh. Yeah,
till
uh-huh. I do
yesterday.
know that.
I did an interview with an actor, and he come to find out here where I live in a little town in Kentucky. In January, they're going to be filming a horror movie here with him in it.
Oh, oh, wow.
And I've talked with that company today, and I might just have a little bitty role in it.
Really? Oh, well, that's great. Well, then you have to tell me so I can see that. That would be great. That's good for
But
you.
that Indiegogo, you made me think of when you're talking about some of the smaller films that you do,
Uh-huh.
independent films, because those are some of the most phenomenal films that you don't get to see because they don't really make it all the way to the big screen. You have to kind of
Yes,
find them.
sometimes. Yeah.
And that's where I think people do their best work. I mean, because they want to do it. It's not that they have to have a job, it's that they want to be there to help.
Yeah, it's well, yeah, there it's just fun to do other things, and it keeps you sharp too. That's why I like doing plays every once in a while because you know, with when you have so much dialogue that comes in all the time, it's like studying or cramming for a test. You study, 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 you learn it, and then goes away. So I'm always afraid, like, oh no, like if I were to do a scene in the morning and then they decide to do it again at the end of the day, I'd go, uh-oh, I'd have to look at it again. I mean, maybe and so that's why with a play, I mean, you got to really be on top of that. You have lines all the time, and uh,
Big difference in doing theater and TV. I mean, I know you said they don't
yep,
like to do a take two, but you have that option if you have to, where
yeah,
you
if you
don't in
have to,
theater.
yeah, you're absolutely right. And see, because theater's really something, because right then whether your audience loves you or hates you. You know
Right.
it. There's no beating around the bush. There's no, how they feel about you. Whereas you don't know. On television, the only thing that knows that I feel like, well, I must be doing something right because I'm still there 40 years and counting. So I go, okay, well, then I must be doing this okay.
Right. Well, I am so thankful you were here. Thank you so much for spending the time talking with me. It's been so much fun chatting. And definitely, they broke the mold with you.
Oh,
You are one of a
oh.
kind.
Well,
You are
Tim, I
phenomenal.
really appreciate you and all your hard work. and everything that you do and you give back. And I really, really appreciate that. So thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. If you hang on just a minute,